Exiled Exchange 2 is a community-based overlay tool that allows you to quickly price check items without having to leave the game. I've seen a few videos for Exiled Exchange 2, but none went over everything it has to offer. Although price checking is the most common use of this tool, there are other quality of life perks such as a stopwatch, cheat sheets, preset Regex filters, and more. I get a lot of comments asking about this overlay on my crafting video, so here's a quick tutorial of the ins and outs of Exiled Exchange 2. To start, you'll need to install it. I'll leave a link in the description. You will click whichever downloadable link applies to your computer. If you are on console, you can just click off of this video as I don't want to waste your time. This is not available on console. Once you've downloaded it, this little screen will pop up and you'll just follow the installation steps. Some forewarnings is that Exile Exchange only works when Path of Exile 2 is set to windowed full screen and not full screen. This is important. Another note is that if your PoE game requires administrator rights, Exile Exchange 2 will also have to be started with administrator rights. Since we've got that settled, let's hop into setting up the tool. The first thing you'll see is making sure that Exile Exchange 2 is launched and is running in the background. First thing you want to do is press Shift plus space. This little pop-up should appear, and this is essentially our widget screen. We'll get into what widgets are a little later, but the first thing you want to click is this little cog wheel or the settings options. This drop-down should appear with all of these different options, and we'll get into each one, but let's just start with price checking because that's the most useful. Click on the price check option, and then you're going to select the league that you're playing in. For me, it's Fate of the Vol. If you're watching this at a later time, this could be a different league. You can type in a private league if you're playing in a private league, and then here you're going to want to type in your account name. If you're not sure of what your account name is, you can just go to the microtransaction screen and you'll be able to find it in the top left. Pulling back up those settings really quick, the only value that really matters in this screen now is the fill stat values, but you can scroll through all of the different options once you're a little bit more familiar with the overlay. But the fill stat values just affects the default range of values that will automatically populate when price checking, but you can always manually override them at any time. Now that all of that is set up, go to the hotkeys option in the top, and this is where we can select those hotkeys for the price checking. We can see overlay, we have Shift plus space, but if you wanted to change it to something else, you could. And then my price checking option is Control Alt D, but if I wanted to change it to Control B, I could do that. I'm just going to stick with Control Alt D because that's what I'm comfortable with, but you can select whatever you like. Okay, now that price checking is set up, let's get into actually price checking an item and how I would advise going about it. So this is my inventory. To price check an item, simply hover over the item. I'm going to use amulets because I think that would make a great example, and then press your hotkey. Mine's Control Alt D. This window should automatically populate with all of the modifiers on your item. We can see that all of mine are unselected. If all of yours are selected, don't worry, it's just something in the settings that you can change, and you can put it to however you want. For this example, I'm going to select all of the modifiers. We can see that when I search the trade site, nothing comes up. Now, this does not mean that my amulet is worth 20 mirrors, for example. It just means that I included too much in my search. For example, I have a spell skills amulet. Something like evasion rating just isn't that valuable, and then the anointment just doesn't really add that much valuable because it's very niche for my build. So I'm going to unselect both of those and then search again. We can see that now it populated and it says it's 2,000 divines, and it was posted 1 month ago. If I wanted to, I can select this trade option, and then the trade site will appear. You will have to sign in if you haven't signed in yet, so you'll just press continue, and then you're going to follow the steps to sign in. From here, it automatically gives me all of the different options for similar amulets. So we can see this is a similar amulet, and it has increased maximum energy shield, and it has a better maximum mana. So clearly this one's a little bit better than mine, and this hasn't even sold and it's been 2 months. So I wouldn't say that mine is worth 2,000 divines, and it's quite hard because there's no similar ones. But from here I can go to the show filters option, and we can see all of the modifiers are already populated for me. I can now adjust my ranges to see some different values. So let's put 20% critical damage bonus, let's do 100 maximum mana, and then instead of doing 47 spirit, let's do 40 spirit. We can see now that there's one for 1,680 divine orbs, and this one is similar to mine, and it was posted 2 days ago. We can see that I'm getting some results, and I'm looking at the trade site comparing my items, but I'm not getting a definitive for my item. This tool is just to give me a ballpark number of what mine's worth. Essentially, it's only worth what someone's willing to pay. That's the essence of price checking with this tool. It just saves you time instead of manually searching up the item on the trade site. As for knowing if an item is even worth checking, experience plays a huge role here in knowing all of the different archetypes, but loot filters help a lot because they already remove a lot of unwanted items, so if you're getting something like a tier 5 item, it might be worth price checking. You can also use PoE Ninja to see what are the best items per class, and I do have a video that goes in depth of how you can find your own niche market to sell things, so check that out if you're interested. So now you know how to price check an item, but there's still some more things Exiled Exchange 2 can do. Pull up your widget screen again and go to the settings options. From here, go to hotkeys and you can see the map check and item info hotkeys. Select a hotkey for these and they will be defaulted to be the same, so mine is Control M. The item info hotkey allows you to automatically pull up an item's info and it can be any item, unique or regular. So again, I'm going to pull up my inventory really quick and then let's just use this volatile wand as an example. If I press Control M, these 4 options will populate. We have the PoE Wiki, the PoE2 database, Craft of Exile, and then finding it in the stash. From here, I can select these different options and it will pull up that website. For example, PoE2 database will automatically populate and I can see all of the different modifiers for this item. The same thing would go for Craft of Exile, and if you're not familiar with these websites, I do have a simple video going over their uses and UI. Now, if you pull up your widget screen and go to settings again, you can go to item info. From here, you can set automatic links to this. So if you wanted to have the wiki automatically open, you could set it to have its own hotkey. Same thing for PoE2 database, Craft of Exile, and then finding in your stash tab. This can be super useful just to easily access things and saves you time instead of having to pull up the website yourself. So that's the item info hotkey. However, the other hotkey that is still the same, so mine is Control M, is map checking. Under settings, go to the map check option. From here, you will see all of these different options, and if you haven't noticed already, these are all map and tablet modifiers. You can find which ones you like or dislike and label them. For example, the monsters deal percentage of damage as extras are kind of scary on my build. Not to say that they aren't something I can't run, but they're not ideal. So I label them with cautions. If I go back to my inventory and I hover over this map, we can see that it has the monsters deal 28% of damage as extra chaos. And again, I labeled that as a warning. So if I press Control M, it can easily populate and just tell me this has that modifier, monsters deal 28% of damage as extra chaos. If I had more warnings or greens, it would all pop up, or anything with the red letting me know, okay, I can't run this map. It's very useful because you can accidentally run a map and it has a modifier that you didn't want to run and you unfortunately die and lose that map. Going back to the settings screen, the only thing else that's left under hotkeys is stash tab scrolling, and you can have this enabled or disabled. It's just useful for being in the stash tab, so you just hold Control and mouse wheel. So if I just hold Control, I can just scroll through. And yes, I am playing with controller at the same time, and this still works, which is great for me. Now, it might seem like a lot so far, but there's still some more. Finally, we're going to go into the widgets screen. So again, pull up that widget screen with the Shift plus space, and this is our widget. Now, you can move this to be wherever you like, so I'm going to move it to the top left because that's just what's comfortable for me. Right now, you see nothing, but you can edit this screen to have 5 different widgets. First, we have experience. So you can see this, you'll just click XP, and then you'll want to pull up the settings again. So go to settings, and then for leveling, you're going to want to have this box checkmarked as well as this box checkmarked in order for this widget to work efficiently. And then click save. Now, the next thing you're going to do is type in your current level. If it's level 1 and you just started, it will already be working for you. But currently I'm level 96. This widget just lets me easily know if I'm over or under level versus a zones area. Because if you're over 3 levels or under 3 levels, you will experience a penalty. And although it's not really too important, it can be nice and it's just easier to see if you have it set up. The next widget is a stopwatch. So we're going to hover over the 3 dots and we're going to click stopwatch. Now I'm going to move it again. I like to have my stopwatch up here. And then if I click the edit button, I can see the start and pause as well as the reset. So I can set these to my keyboard. So I'm just going to do Control S for start and Control R, and then press save. Now, if I'm just back in the game, I can press Control S, and the stopwatch will start running. And if I press Control S again, it will stop. And if I press Control R, it will go away. But if I press Control S while it's running and then press Control R, it will just reset. Now, if you pull up that widget screen again, the next widget is Stash Search. So hover over the three dots and click Stash Search. This little thing will populate stating untitled and currency, which can be a little confusing. But if you select the edit option here, this window will populate. And we can see we have the currency, and then I can set a hotkey. Now, what this essentially does is it allows me to save filters. This can be extremely useful for regexes or regexes. It's just a short term for regular expressions and can be used to easily filter for certain things. Regexes can be confusing, so I'm just going to do one. I have this regex here that filters for movement speed on boots and plus level of skills for any items, which is great when I'm running the campaign and checking the vendor for upgrades. So I'm just going to delete currency and I'm going to paste in that regex. From here, where it says friendly name, I'm just going to select a hotkey and I'm going to press Control I. And if I wanted to, I could add another regex, and you can type whatever you want and then select as many as you want, and then you just press save. The next thing you'll want to do is go to settings. I like to just have this. This is completely optional. Under item info, you can press find in stash and then press Control F. So if I go back to the game, I'm going to just press Control F, and we can see that it immediately goes to this and it will delete it. And then if I press Control I, it will automatically populate that regex that I have saved. So you can have as much as you want, and then we can see here, this has plus level of chaos spills, this has the movement speed on boots, and there's tons and tons of regexes, so you can just use the poe2.re website to create your own, but it's super nice to just save them filtered instead of just having to recreate them constantly. Next up, we have the image strip widget. So just hover over the three dots and click image strip. This will automatically populate, and it doesn't apply to Path of Exile 2, but we're just going to click Edit. From here, you can delete this one if you want, but you have this Choose File option. This allows you to upload any image into the game. So it could just be a picture of a cat you want, but I like to use it for cheat sheets. So if I'm going to go to Choose File, and I had a temples cheat sheet because building temple this league was very, very intricate, so I just had this automatically saved. So if I go back to the widget screen and then I unselect the edit option, I can now have it to where that cheat sheet is saved and it's easily accessible. So when I was building my temple, I could easily look at this and it just saves me time instead of having to look at my phone. If we go back and click edit, you can change the widget title, and I like to just name it cheat sheets. And then I'm going to just move it to the top. The last widget is a notepad. So if you hover over the three dots and click notepad, this little notepad will appear, and it's just a standard notepad that's incorporated through Exiled Exchange 2, and you can type whatever you want here. It's just nice to have because you don't have to tab in and out of the game. That's pretty much everything for Exiled Exchange 2. If you really enjoy it, feel free to click the donate option in the settings. From here, you can donate to Alexander's Patreon, and be sure to support him. He did a great job in creating this. Exiled Exchange 2 is also constantly updated throughout the leagues with new features, so just make sure to go to the About screen and then click the Check Now to see if there's an update. But that's all for the guide. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. Take it easy, Exiles.